They thought the American heartland was safe. They believed the cartel's poison stopped at the border, believing themselves untouchable and unseen in the quiet interior of the United States. This devastating belief was shattered by a massive U.S. and Allied operation in Tennessee, decisively exposing how deeply the machinery of an international fentanyl network had infiltrated the nation. In the cities of Nashville and Murfreesboro, investigators uncovered not just a temporary drug stash, but a deeply rooted system, a domestic criminal hub that operated with cold, arrogant efficiency. This exposed network was caught holding 15 pounds of fentanyl, a small amount physically, yet carrying enough lethal force to end 3 million lives. This crushing blow by law enforcement was one of the most significant drug busts in the state's history, immediately humiliating the cartel by turning their domestic operations into a public display of weakness. The entire operation began with a single, tragic overdose death in Murfreesboro in late 2023. For most, it was just another grim number, another statistic in a rising crisis. But for investigators in the Murfreesboro Special Investigations Section, something did not settle right. The drugs involved were noted to be pure and potent, pointing to sources that were far more professional than local drug patterns suggested. This single loss was the fragile thread that U.S. law enforcement seized, beginning a relentless 20-month pursuit to unravel a complex web of deceit stretching across Middle Tennessee. This initial quiet decision not to look away became the central point of vigilance that drove the entire operation forward. It was a race against time, where every hour meant another potential overdose, another family destroyed. This sustained urgency fueled the detectives through long nights of controlled buys and endless surveillance, providing an emotional drive that kept the pressure on the adversary. Over 20 months, U.S. officers, analysts, and federal partners worked to connect the dots in a display of unmatched investigative persistence. What they discovered was not a loose, disorganized street effort, but a sophisticated, integrated network moving deadly narcotics from established cartel pipelines deep into American communities. The network was managed like a corporation, protected like a militia, and built to last. Shipments moved quietly between Nashville and Murfreesboro, sometimes hidden in vehicles, sometimes through fronts disguised as legitimate businesses. They even used social media to recruit local dealers, showing how easily organized crime had adapted to modern life. Fast, flexible, and invisible, blending in with ordinary neighborhoods. This ability to hide in plain sight was the cartel's greatest trick, and the goal of the U.S. operation was to expose this core weakness, humiliating the cartel by stripping away their anonymity.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
The exposure escalated sharply when investigators confirmed a shocking truth. This was not merely a distribution network. The seized fentanyl was not just imported and repackaged, it was actively produced on U.S. soil. A fentanyl lab was found and dismantled, operating right out of Nashville. This discovery was a complete humiliation for the cartel, proving they had been so confident in their operational security that they had moved their manufacturing expertise across the border. This single detail shattered the outdated notion that the U.S. border was the line between domestic and foreign threats. The enemy was no longer just invading. It was embedded, operating with the confidence of permanence and building labs because it planned to stay. This domestic production capability allowed the cartel to rapidly supply deadly doses directly into American neighborhoods, making containment exponentially harder. The discovery of the lab exposed this new phase of the fentanyl epidemic, domestic production leading to national devastation. The investigative pressure built up for 20 months until it reached the point of necessary decisive action. When the operation reached its peak, U.S. and Allied authorities launched a massive coordinated strike across Middle Tennessee. 17 residential search warrants were executed nearly simultaneously, a synchronized and overwhelming display of U.S. power. The operation was a calculated intervention against what was effectively a mass casualty event. The results of this decisive strike were overwhelming, confirming the complete dominance of U.S. law enforcement. The list of seized assets alone was a crushing humiliation for the cartel's local arm. 15 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill 3 million people. Over 6 pounds of other deadly drugs, including 2.5 pounds of methamphetamine, 2.1 pounds of heroin, and 2 pounds of cocaine. This inventory proved the cartel operates a diversified, integrated criminal ecosystem, showing it is not a chaotic operation, but a calculated strategy. 61 firearms, including some fully automatic weapons, body armor, and suppressors, proving the network was protected like a militia. These instruments of violence were decisively removed from the streets. $175,000 in cash and 15 vehicles, 3 of which were stolen. This seizure froze the illicit cash flow, hitting the network in its only true measure of success: profit. Amid these major seizures, the U.S. operation achieved a victory that saved a life in the moment of action. Investigators intercepted a planned first-degree murder tied to this criminal network before it could take place. This interception proved that fentanyl trafficking is not a petty crime. It is organized crime operating with the ruthless, deadly finality of war. The U.S. forces exposed the cartel's plan to kill to protect its power and control, and in a decisive moment, prevented the violence. The arithmetic of the fentanyl seized reveals the scale of the American victory. 1 kilogram of fentanyl, which is about 2 pounds, can produce 500,000 lethal doses. Multiply that quantity by 7 to match the seizure, and the result is a staggering 3 million potential deaths that were averted. That is an extinction-level threat contained in a suburban garage. The seizure was not just an arrest. It was a rescue on an unimaginable scale. Millions of lives were saved because of timely action and persistence. The indictment phase delivered the final, crushing humiliation to the cartel's network. 33 individuals were indicted with charges ranging from drug trafficking and gang activity to firearms offenses. 3 of those charges stood out second-degree murder. These homicide charges were reserved for individuals linked to distributing the fentanyl that directly caused fatal overdoses. This direct link between distribution lines and fatalities completely exposes the cartel's murderous business model. The cartel's twisted metrics see potency as profit, and every life lost as proof of product effectiveness. The American system of justice delivered the ultimate check on this arrogance, asserting dominance by holding the traffickers accountable for murder, the highest level of legal consequence.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
They were not just selling drugs, they were playing executioner. The multi-agency effort that achieved this decisive outcome was unprecedented and represents a clear model of U.S. competence and unified order. Murfreesboro Police worked with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, and the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department. Each agency brought unique local and federal authority, building a single case that pierced through the cartel's layers of deception. The involvement of federal agencies confirmed that the fentanyl crisis is no longer a simple matter of policing. It is a national security issue that demands the dismantling of complex systems. Even with this decisive victory, the nature of the enemy means the fight continues, providing a clear future challenge. The cartels operate like a hydra. Cut off one head, and they attempt to grow 2 more elsewhere. The infrastructure exposed in Tennessee is likely mirrored in undetected operations across other American cities. This relentless need to rebuild demonstrates the cartel's underlying weakness. They are forced to adapt after every U.S. exposure, revealing their new operational flaws. This predictable pattern of failure is met by the U.S. judicial system, which now begins the monumental task of turning evidence into convictions. These unresolved trials keep the cycle open and the pressure on the adversary for years to come. The lasting effects of this operation are strategic and dominant. The operation provides a new model for future enforcement, one that integrates intelligence, data sharing, and treats drug trafficking as a combined criminal and national security challenge. This superior strategic approach ensures that the age of cartel impunity is closing. The Tennessee bust proved that cartel presence is not just creeping, it is rooted, but that U.S. persistence can pull those roots out. The operation illuminated 3 million reasons for Americans to remain vigilant. The ultimate consequence is clear. The cartel's reliance on secrecy was decisively exposed. The quiet confidence of their embedded operation was shattered by the overwhelming force of American justice. Their humiliation is complete because the nation now understands that the border is everywhere, wherever a house is rented, wherever equipment can be hidden, wherever a buyer can be deceived. This bust was a definitive statement of U.S. control. It was not just a temporary dam against the flood, but a complete dismantling of a system optimized for death. The sheer magnitude of the victory is a lasting deterrent, sending a clear message to any adversary seeking to infiltrate American communities. The U.S. will not look away, and persistence, intelligence, and unified action will always dominate chaos. The fight is ongoing, but in this decisive moment, death lost ground, and American order prevailed. This takedown was just the start. The fight isn't finished. On your screen is the next video. Click the video, it opens right away, and you'll see the cartels crushed even harder.